But here's Jacqui Heinrich of Fox News asking her question about, hey, what's going on with this whole thing? Give us some more details. And here's what takes place.
Thanks, John. John, does the U.S. government have video or imagery of these latest intercepts, and will you guys be releasing it?
You'd have to talk to DOD about that, Jacqui. I don't know what kind of imagery might exist, and they'd be one to talk about whether they're releasable or not. Obviously.
What? Again, it gives you credence to what I was just saying, that they're coming on the podium, and there's no credibility here from these people. It's always, I don't know, you got to talk to somebody else. We saw this again with the classified documents. You got to talk to this person. You got to talk to that person. If you're going to stand there on the podium and talk to the American people by talking to the press and answering their questions, you haven't met with the DOD on this thing. I mean, wouldn't you try to gather as much intel on this, knowing that you're going to stand on the podium? You can't have a team that asks a litany of questions that you're probably going to have from reporters, or heck, talk to the reporters before, be like, you guys got any questions that I can maybe get answered by the Pentagon or the DOD or somebody before I step on this podium? I would rather you wait a day to talk to everybody and gather and compile some questions so we can actually get some answers here on what the heck is going on. Do you have imagery about this? Well, I don't know. We might, it could be like 480K or something. I mean, we might have some Polaroids of it. It's like, come on. Great question by Jacqui, though.
Obviously, certainly with respect to the spy balloon, we want to make sure that we are gleaning what we can from this imagery so that we can answer your questions better. And so to what degree there is or will or will not be public release, I do want to stress that we're going to want to make sure that we have had a chance to analyze that imagery for ourselves as much as possible.
Following up on Phil's question, I guess what we're trying to discern is, you said earlier, we're looking for these more, so we're finding more. And
I said that could be one reason why we're finding more.
One reason, but what we're getting at is, why are we all of a sudden shooting them down? And to add to that, the NORAD commander, for instance, said that when the first spy balloon was crossing over American and then Canadian airspace, one of the reasons that he couldn't take action was because his assessment was that it didn't pose a military threat or have hostile intent, and so he couldn't take action there. It seems like maybe that protocol has changed, or his ability to make that call where there is not an imminent threat militarily or physically might have changed. So can you explain to us what changed? Why are we shooting them down all of a sudden?
I kind of feel like I took care of that in my opening statement, but I'm happy to revisit it. I mean, really two reasons here. And these are certainly in both cases, they're different. I mean, I think we need to separate the Chinese spy balloon. We knew what it was. We knew where it was going. We knew what it was trying to do. And by not taking it down, I mean, that was also a huge payload. Like I said,
you guys help me out here, because we're all in this together trying to understand what this guy's talking about. Well, we knew this Chinese spy balloon. We knew what it was. We knew where it was going. We knew all this information about it, so we didn't blow it out of the sky. But then if you were to correlate that to these other objects of what she's been saying for the last few segments that we've watched together, well, we don't really know much about it. We can't really talk about the shape. We might have some imagery on it. It's really hard to tell. We got to humble ourselves with our fighter jets and our pilots that are behind those fighter jets and what they could see going certain speeds with small objects. So we don't really know for sure exactly what it was, but we decided to blow it out of the sky immediately. So on one hand, the Chinese spy balloon, you know exactly what it is, you know exactly what it's doing, you know the size and everything about it. You don't blow it out of the sky immediately. But then there's these other objects you know nothing about, supposedly, that you just blew out of the sky willy-nilly. Does that make sense? Because it doesn't to me. It doesn't to me, but that's the understanding that I'm getting from John Kirby here.
The size of 3 school buses. So really the option of shooting that down over land wasn't a legitimate option, because somebody really could have gotten hurt. And we used the time available to us, knowing what this thing was all about. We used that time to study it, to learn from it, to collect on it, then taking it down at the earliest opportunity in the water. And we have retrieved some of that debris off the bottom, and we're studying that. Hang on a second, I'll be right there. So let's separate that from these other 3. And these other 3, what are some of the differences? Altitude's a big difference.
Is that the threshold now? A risk to civilian aircraft?
Let me get through this. And then altitude's different. The Chinese spy balloon was at 60,000 plus, well outside commercial air traffic concerns. These three were right on the border of it. So there was a legitimate concern there. Chinese spy balloon, we knew exactly what that thing was. And we knew what it was trying to do. And we saw it, Jacqui, as it slowed down, sped up, maneuvered a little bit, trying to get a look at what we believed to be sensitive military sites. These other three, they didn't have propulsion, they weren't being maneuvered, it was basically they were being driven by the wind. We don't know for sure whether they had a surveillance aspect to them, but we can't rule it out. So there was enough uncertainty there that, again, out of an abundance of caution, doing the prudent thing, the president directed that they get taken down. And I get where you're going. Is this the standard going forward? And we're gonna dive into this. We're gonna learn from these three events.
Guys, I'm sorry, but it sounds like my thinking's correct. It's we knew what one thing was. Gather all the intelligence you want. We'll blow you out of the sky later. We don't know what the hell you are, but we're going to blow you out right now. Yes. If you summed it up in 10 seconds, that's exactly what he's saying here. It's the same diarrhea mouth that basically comes from Korean Jean-Pierre. They're hiding something, you guys. As far as what it is, I have no idea. No, they said it wasn't extraterrestrial. I mean, literally Korean Jean-Pierre said it wasn't extraterrestrial. That was her opening statement. And he said the same thing. He said it's not aliens, period. So just so you know, it's supposedly not UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to say, even though they're using the term UAPs in here, which has highly been connected to Lula Elizondo's kind of UAP program, where he's basically come out and said, look, there's aliens out there. So do what you will with that information, but who the heck knows if it's aliens or not? Well, I don't know.
We're going to continue to study what happened. We're going to have an interagency effort that helps us get around the policy implications here, and we'll see where this goes. But bottom line for President Biden is, you got to do the right thing for the American people, for our safety and security.
Is it strange that no one's claimed these yet as theirs?
I can't say whether that's strange or not, since we're sort of in uncharted territory here, no pun intended. But we don't know, and I suspect that. Go ahead. I'm basically done. I'm basically done.
Sir, what's your name, sir?
Bo from CBS.
Okay.
It really is remarkable answers coming from this White House. The lack of answers just in general. Well, we don't know. This is an admiral, you guys. This guy's been in the military for Lord only knows how long. And these are the types of answers he's giving. And he's contradicting himself in his own statements, trying to make, the Chinese balloon's different. You know, it's different than the other three we shot down. We know nothing about these other three, but we know everything about the Chinese spy balloon. We want to make sure they gather as much intel as possible before we actually shot it out of the sky, because it wasn't in air traffic space. You guys, come on. This is silly. This is such a joke coming from the White House, but this is how they're going to treat it. So either it's a nothing burger or there's really something there. And I've heard from like Dan Crenshaw, that's part of the intelligence committee that's been briefed on this stuff. He said, it's not as sexy as everybody's making it out to be. Like, there's really nothing there regarding these objects. The guy was a Navy SEAL, so I'm sure he's seen some sort of imagery. I'm sure he's had pretty much what the president's seeing. So he's not saying it's very sexy. So it's probably not. I don't know what it is. I would imagine if it was another balloon, they would say so. I don't know, but you guys can leave me your guesses down there in the comment section below. I know some of you think it's aliens. I know some of you think it's China, or heck, I don't know, Russia. I honest to God don't know what it is. They said it wasn't aliens. I don't believe the government, okay? I'm not a big fan of the government. We've seen how much they've lied to us to our faces already since Joe Biden's been in office, and even before. So let me know. Can we just all write in the chat right now, don't forget to hit that like button, what you think what these craft are, objects. That's what the UAPs, that's literally from John Kirby calling it UAPs during this White House press briefing as well. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.